Hi everyone, I'm Mardon. I'm here with Apolline and Jordane, and we're gonna introduce you to Jean Michel Basquiat. So first, Apolline will do a biography of this artist. Then I'm gonna talk about his style, and finally, Jordane will tell us about a few of his paintings.
So Basquiat was born in 1960 in Brooklyn Hospital in New York City. His father was Asian and his mother Puerto Rican. He spoke fluently French, English, and Spanish. At the age of 4, he already knew how to read, to write, and he showed an incredible affinity to art. His father brought him papers from his office for him to draw on it, and he drew television cartoons. His teachers noticed his abilities. His mother encouraged him by taking him to art museum and enrolling him to a junior member of the Brooklyn Art Museum. Basquiat said that the art came from his mother. By the age of 7, he started attending to St. Anne's School. It's a private school oriented to arts. And he met Marco Pozzo, and he created children's books at the age of 7. When he was 11, he was hit by a car, and he spent 1 month in the hospital. And his mother brought him a copy of the book Grey's Anatomy. And this book had a huge influence on his work because he produced a piece of art like an anatomical drawing of plants. At 16, he transferred to the city as a school designed for gifted and talented children who find the traditional educational system to be very difficult. Basquiat met Adias, a graphist from Jacob Riis project, and they became close friends and early artistic collaborators. They create together Samo or Seymour sheets, and his career started from there. When he was 18, he left his father's house, and he lived in the home of various of his friends. And he met his future band because he was also a musician. At the same age, he sold hand-painted cards and T-shirts, and this is when he met Andy Warhol. When he was 20, he left his band to focus on his artistic work. At the age of 21, he had his first one artist exhibition in the United States, and he was also the youngest artist invited to participate in the international exhibition Documenta 7 in Germany. At the same time, he produced a rap record. In 1983, he worked with Warhol, and they painted each other's portraits. They were close friends, and Warhol advised him about his life and his work. In 1984, his friends were concerned about his drug use. They found Basquiat to be in a state of paranoia. He was scared that people would steal his work, and he destroyed his drawings. In 1986, his girlfriend broke up with him because of his abuse of heroin. In 1987, Warhol died and Basquiat was devastated, and a close friend of them told that the death of Warhol made the death of Basquiat inevitable. And finally, in 1988, 1 year after the death of Warhol, Basquiat died of a drug intoxication.
Okay, thanks, Apolline. Now I'm gonna talk more about the artist Basquiat and talk about his life, his style in his arts. So the first thing to say is that Basquiat has had many influences. The most notable being Andy Warhol, as Apolline explained, but also Picasso, Trombley, and Jean Dubuffet were great inspirations of his work. He's considered a pioneer in the underground movement, His style has been defined as original, naive, energetic, but also sometimes violent. Basquiat started when he was young with graffiti, of course, but then later on he would paint on canvas, but more often he would paint on wood panels separately that he would then assemble to create whatever his mind wanted to show. Toward the end of his life, he experimented a lot of new and original techniques. We can isolate three big periods of his life in Basquiat's career that would be significant for his work and his paintings. Let me present them to you. So the first goes from 1980 and ends in 1982. During that period, Basquiat painted mostly on canvas with acrylic and oil paint. It was already original motifs, and he brought something drastically different to modern art. He launched the graffiti scene in the 80s New York along with his friends, Kenny Scharf and Keith Haring. His main focus back then was the mortality of men and how to express it in his paintings. He illustrated that with skeletal figures and faces that resembled masks. He also painted then the universe of the streets, which he was very familiar with. For example, children, graffiti, cars, poverty, and so on, many examples. The second period of his life that was meaningful for his career and his art was from 1982 to 1985. During this time, he changed his focus and he changed his technique because from now on he would paint on wood panels separately that he would associate later on to create a whole new painting. On a lot of his paintings, we can discern multiple layers of his work due to the fact that it was assembled later on. Basquiat explained that he could redraw and erase some of his works, but not to the point that we couldn't see that they were work previous to that. He explained that this was his vision of repentance. He also used other tools, such as writing or collage to underline some of his message. He explained that more than the sense of the word, it was their visual aspect that interested him. He would draw attention to this word by circling them or even underlining them or even stripe them in order to bring even more attention and focus to these words and to finally his message in his paintings. During that time, the main focus of Basquiat was African American segregation. That was a real issue back in the US in 1980s. So that was something he lived daily, because as an African American and a colored person, he would suffer from a lot of segregation. So in his painting, he represented a lot of African American characters and figures to express what he felt about this situation. Finally, the last period of his career and life, from 1985 to his death in 1988, his creations became really different. He tried more experimental and original techniques and approach. There can't be a real definition of what he could do during that time. It could be like collage with a lot of different elements, or it could be huge monochromatic paintings. As Apolline said, after 1987, he felt really isolated by the death of Warhol and felt like no one could really get his work. So his work really was affected by it, and also his use of heroin would really affect his work, and was really visible in a lot of his paintings. So this concludes my part about Jean Michel Basquiat's style and way of painting. And now we're gonna skip to Jordane with some example of paintings.
Yes, so I'm going to present you some of Basquiat's work and paintings. So first I'm going to talk about Samuel graffiti. So in 1976, Basquiat and Aldiaz, as Apolline said, began to spray painting graffiti on buildings in Lower Manhattan. working under the pseudonym of Samo. That was meaning same old or same old shit. So when Basquiat and Diaz ended their friendship, the Samo project ended, and they tagged Samo is dead on the walls of Soho buildings in 1979. So Franklin Sirmans said about Samo that Samo, for same old, marked the witty sayings of a precocious and worldly teenage mind that, even at that early juncture, saw the world in shades of grey, fearlessly juxtaposing corporate commodity structures with the social milieu he wished to enter, the predominantly white art world. So then I'm going to present you the irony of the Negro policeman. So the original title was Irony of the Negro, and Basquiat painted it in 1981. It follows the Neo-Expressionism style, and the media used for this painting are the acrylic crayon on a canvas. So Basquiat, Irony of Negro Policeman, is a sharp critique on members of his own race. So we saw that he was a part of segregation, and in this painting he is making a conscious effort to show how African Americans are controlled by the white majority in America. Basquiat found it ironic that any African American would be a policeman working to enforce rules that were meant to enslave themselves. The figure in the paintings is a totalitarian black mask with a mask-like face and a hat resembling of a cage. On the right of the painting, we can read the words Irony of Negro Policeman, and to the bottom right, the word pun, clearly stating Basquiat's opinion on the ridiculous position of a Negro policeman. He often used writing in his work and many techniques, as well as deconstructed figures. So now I'm going to talk about the untitled, but it's titled Skull, painted in 1981 using acrylic and mixed media on canvas, and this is one of Basquiat's famous painting. So this is an example of Basquiat's early canvas work, and it features a patchwork skull that mixes a sum of mismatched parts. Basquiat was a great colorist, as we can see in this painting, using a lot of colors. And it is a face represented in the shape of a skull. Although complete with eyes, nose, and teeth, the painting gives the impression that it is incomplete. The bones are showing through the bones are showing through with the colors in the background. The painting also gives the impression that there are forms and figures within the face, but in fact the latter is made up only from abstract lines and shapes. We can see also in this piece, we can see this piece as an auto-portrait, since Basquiat was terrified by the idea of not living until an old age, and this expression clearly demonstrates a face, a skull, that is morbid and terrifying. So here is another painting of Basquiat. So it is untitled, and he painted it in 1982 using acrylic and oil paint stick, also on canvas. So that painting can be associated with African art, representing a skull, a bone, and an arrow. And Basquiat modernized them with his neo-expressionist style of thickly applied paint, rapidly rendered subjects, and scrolled linear characters. There is a white skull in the center of the composition. Once again, the painter emphasized on the ephemeral nature of life and the body's eventual degeneration. Basquiat demonstrates that his work was relatively effortless, if not sometimes completely improvisatory. But nevertheless, he always put his best in his paintings, representing joyful things versus sometimes and most of the time torture and sadness. And he always delivered a message through his painting. And the painting can seem messy or disproportionate, but the idea behind it and the message is always here. So this is the history of the black people, painting in 1983 using acrylic paint and oil paint stick on panel. So this is an example of three painting that he put together. So with this image, Basquiat speaks about his origins and the history of Africans in America. The work also connects Egypt and Black America. For example, Memphis is written and is a center of Black American music and culture because it is also a city in America. And it was also an ancient Egyptian capital. At the center of the painting, we can see a yellow Egyptian boat being guided by, down the Nile River by the god Osiris. There are also visual and textual references to African history. In fact, the painting seems to represent a chronology and thus history with a quite naive style. Basquiat's late period works feature multi-panel paintings, as we said, and often the surfaces of these pieces are virtually consumed by their own trait of dense writing, collage, and abstruse imagery. This is Arm and Hammer 2 painted in 1985 using acrylic and silkscreen on canvas. So this piece is a typical collaboration of the team Basquiat and Warhol. It demonstrates how they would pass a work between them for their mutual intervention and inspiration, switching back and forth until the painting was done. So we recognize at the right of the painting Warhol's characteristic employment of corporate logos and advertising copy as signs for the materialistic modern society. And on the other side, on the left, we have Basquiat that tries to deface them and maybe humanize them and with freehand marks. This is also one of Basquiat's very famous work. So it's Eroica, painted in 1987 using mixed technique and like acrylic and crayon on a canvas. So after the death of his friend Warhol, Basquiat was at the height of his career and became haunted by its own disappearance. Eroica is repeated on the canvas several times. On the right, we can see, and it is also crossed in line as on the wall of a prison. Eroica is the reference to a famous symphony of Beethoven. We can see white spots as well as black spots, which seems to represent bullet holes. There are also red tracks, as if stained with blood hands had lain somewhere there. Once again, words are written on the painting, among which man dies, that appears several times. The distinction between paint, writing, and drawing disappears. The work is an association of fragmented pieces, a puzzle of symbols which do not go together, especially. Eroica means heroic in Italian. Heroes do not die, but men, yes. Warhol died the year before, and the heroes are not anymore immortal, and therefore one Eroica is crossed. Finally, we're going to end with this self-portrait of Basquiat called Self-Portrait as a Heel, painting in 1982. He resembles his own face as a disrupted African mask that has seen fear, hunger, and corruption. He is also labeled with a number indicating he is among many. The gripped, tightly blue shackles around the figure's neck restraints under the label Ace comes. Basquiat is expressing the frustration towards social issues of African Americans, and that there is a clear and visible sense of anger in the eyes of being seen as just another black man.
So that concludes our presentation. Thank you for watching us. We hope that we could bring you information about Basquiat's life and art, and we'll see you soon.